The downward death spiral of Doctor Who is upon us. Get woke, go broke, they proclaimed, as Doctor Who appointed their first female doctor. Now, that wasn't the problem. The problem was actually that the narrative of the show became Magic School Bus. But let me stop. Many of you might be saying, Tim, I am not too familiar with Doctor Who. Well, admittedly, I am not the biggest Doctor Who fan, but I do know a little bit. I've watched a little bit. It's basically a very, very old show, and they always, when they change doctors, it's like getting a new cast. The show can carry on as a sci-fi time travel interdimensional adventure by, constantly being fresh with new doctors. So I don't want to, get into the lore of the show. I want to talk more about the politics. And I'll tell you this. I'm a big fan of Star Trek, okay? I grew up watching Star Trek. I was a little kid. My dad would watch The Next Generation. And as I got older, I started to appreciate it more and more because it was a very smart and good show. And then they had, Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And I got mad when they started doing prequels, but I really liked the exploration of philosophy and technology, the philosophical consequences of technological advancement, things like that. Doctor Who hits a lot of those chords. And so there's a lot of Doctor Who I really liked. I admittedly, not as big a fan of Doctor Who as I am of, say, Star Trek. But here's what happens. It was, I believe, a couple of years ago, they decided we're going to do the first female doctor. And all of a sudden we heard from the typical fare of like, oh, here come the incels all angry about a female doctor, and no one really cared. In fact, on a lot of forums, they talked about how in the lore of the show, when the doctor regenerates, they sometimes, Time Lords sometimes become female. It wasn't that big of a deal. So now they want to do the first female doctor. And admittedly, there were a lot of fans I saw who are not SJWs or anti-SJW. They're just regular fans who are like, cool, yeah, I'm excited to see how they do this because it's actually an interesting idea. The doctor has always been male. You do a female doctor, you could maybe get a different perspective, different kind of storylines, so it could be really interesting. Here's the problem. The show became the Magic School Bus. Yeah, like Miss Frizzle brings the kids on an adventure in the school bus to go explore, science and stuff. Well, they started doing shows where, like, they go to occupied India and they go, like, meet Rosa Parks. And here's the story now. I'm sorry it took 2 minutes to get to the point, but you can see it on the screen. Season 12 of Doctor Who has a 7% audience score with 402 ratings. So let me stop you right now, woke Twitterati. Okay? This is not a bash campaign. This is not a brigade against the show. It's 402 ratings. It's not 10,000. It's not 50,000. This is not This is not wave after wave of angry fans coming and giving it a bad rating before they've seen it. It's quite literally just 49 critics, 400 users who really don't like the show. And lo and behold, even some of the critics are calling out, say this: Doctor Who delivers a pointed message in a pointless episode. It's not just the fans who are angry, although many of the critics are saying, what a great series. Yeah, great. We're adults. I don't want to watch Magic School Bus. If I want to see Miss Frizzle bring the kids into the bus to go on a magic adventure in outer space or whatever, I'll watch the Magic School Bus. When I want to see a show talk about, interdimensional travel and aliens and cyborgs, and there was one episode where it's like, there's a spaceship caught between different a gravitational pull of I think it was a large star or planet. And so a certain portion of the ship was experiencing gravity much more differently than the other part of the ship. So time moved very differently. Time in the bottom of the ship was going really, really quickly and really slow up top. It's a really, really fascinating idea. Well, now the doctor's bringing us back to go check out Rosa Parks and talk about climate change. Yeah, great. If I want a preachy political show, I won't watch Doctor Who, okay? But even Star Trek is doing this. Now, I'll tell you this. I do believe, and I have another segment coming up in a few minutes, that the era of woke TV is actually, it's behind us. While Doctor Who may be one of the last to reap the benefits of getting woke and going broke. Take a look at this. I'm just heartbroken. I'm just heartbroken that Jodie, Chibnall, and the team destroyed one of my favorite shows and turned it into a political correctness drama. I just wonder at what point will BBC bow their heads to the fact that people are no longer even interested in watching it. Terrible. I cannot find the words to describe how bad it is. My show is over. Series 11 was S, and Series 12 continues to be a platform for virtue signaling with terrible writing and bad story decisions. Congratulations, Chibnall and BBC. You destroyed Doctor Who with this rubbish. Yada, yada, yada. I'm not bothered by the doctor being a woman, but Jodie Whittaker is wrong for this part. She's just trying to emulate previous doctors. Nobody likes who plays the doctor at first. I get that. But I still don't like Jodie. Okay, I don't care about that. Someone said 5 stars just to piss off the blind boomers who think climate change is political and not indeed actual science. Okay, no. You don't get it. Even AV Club, which is part of Gizmodo and Jezebel, is saying it's a pointless episode. Oh, they can praise the politics, but recognize the show is bad. It's a bad show. You want to preach about climate change? Fine, I get it. But when you make crappy TV, that's the problem. Look, Wonder Woman, great movie. Oh, it had a female lead. There you go. Mission accomplished, feminists. But then you look at Ghostbusters, an all-women reboot of Ghostbusters, and it was a terrible movie. No one cares that they're women. Nobody cares if you want to do an episode about some kind of idea like racism. Make good shows. The problem is they're making the magic school bus, okay? She goes into a nightmarish climate change or whatever. All right, but here's the thing. Check this out. Dr. Who viewers praise climate change message in Orphan 55, but some fans thought the issue was handled with too much heavy-handedness. Heavy-handedness. That is the key takeaway. This era needs to go away. I'm looking forward to the end, when we can say, listen, we could do an episode where they go to a planet where humans are polluting and destroying the planet, and the problem the humans are facing is that they've toxified their environment and the food sources are depleting. Star Trek did that stuff all the time, and it was awesome, okay? There was one, man, Star Trek, so good. Data goes to Picard, and he says, there's something I'm trying to understand. You know, I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember it word for word, but he basically says, you know, people talk about how terrorism is wrong. But if you look at the history of these, you know, several instances, we can see that it has been an effective course of action to bring about political change. And Picard says, indeed, it is something that has troubled humanity. But I do not subscribe to the belief that political power is drawn from the barrel of a gun. And I'm like, oh man, they're talking about issues of revolution, of terror. It was at a time when we had, and we still do, we have this insurgency and terror around the world, and they were tackling a political issue in the future, saying, if it works, why is it bad? And Picard tries to grapple with this, and they explain it. It's awesome. It's not the only time shows have done this. They have, of course, done shows about inequality between men and women. But the problem with what they do here for this woke social justice show is the show is literally an educational Magic School Bus episode, where instead of having them, like, come to a planet where there's no food and people are fighting in the streets, or going to a planet that's authoritarian or communist or something like that, it's they literally go there and she preaches, she says, I know what you're thinking, but it's one possible future, it's one timeline. You want me to tell you that Earth's gonna be okay? Because I can't. In your time, humanity's busy arguing over the washing of, okay, dude, we get it. You're breaking the fourth wall, you're telling us to do something about climate change, I get it. You don't have to do that. Here's the episode I propose. Instead of literally telling us, it's like, it reminds me of South Park. You know what I learned today? I learned this, and then they literally tell you, but it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek with South Park. They make it funny. They say, like, there's that one really famous episode where they say, you know what I learned? And they go on to, it's a beep. It's just beep for like 3 minutes because Comedy Central had to censor everything they were saying because they were attacking. They were attacking the people who bend the knee to terror. That's funny. What's not funny is when I want to watch a show that explores the future. What would the world look like if this happened? They instead turn it into, today I learned. Come with me, children. We're going to go explore the white blood cell. They literally went to Rosa Parks in the last season. They literally went to, like, occupied India. Dude, we don't need history lessons. We need new intellectual property, exploring new ideas around this. Otherwise, what you'll get is a 7% Rotten Tomatoes score. And they don't seem to get it. Because what happens now is they've combined doing the diversity hire with, you know, social justice educational TV. And then when people get mad about the show being bad, they say, you just don't like it because she's a woman. Oh, dude, you know what, man? Keep saying that as we go and watch Hunger Games and Wonder Woman all day and night. As, you know, the Black Widow trailer drops and everyone's excited for it. And the new Wonder Woman 1984 trailer drops and it is epic. But this is the line they draw because they are too stupid to see why their product is failing. You want your message to get across. It's not the way you do it. Star Trek has always been fairly progressive, and they tackled these ideas in intelligent ways. They talked about humanity. They talked about Data. Dude, the episode where Data's on trial, trying to figure out whether or not an android is actually a life form, was an incredible like analog to the issue of slavery, personhood, race, and they even say it to your face. I am not comfortable with creating an intelligent, sentient life and telling them they must be property. They were saying it, but they did it in a way that was entertaining, was interesting. They didn't insult you. They asked the question, they entertained it, and they said, what does this really mean? And they showed both sides arguing in it. You had the one side saying, no, he's property, one side saying, no, he's sentient life. They can have these storylines. They just need to make good shows. These shows are bad because instead of having so here's that episode, right? Data is challenged by the scientist who wants to take them apart because he wants to make more of them. And Data says, I'm a sovereign life form. I can do whatever I want. And they challenge it in court. And they have both sides arguing whether or not he's free to do so. Amazing. This, however, is come aboard the TARDIS, children, as we go and meet Rosa Parks and learn about history. Congratulations with your 7%. So you get the point, man. She's preaching to the audience. I'm not surprised. But I'll tell you this. I'm a Star Trek fan. A lot of what I'm saying is really me venting about what's going on with Star Trek and what they did to Star Wars. Star Wars is a bit different. Star Wars wasn't like, far left insanity. So I can empathize with the Doctor Who fans who are really upset that their show is being destroyed, because I'm equally scared about what's going to happen to Picard as they do finally they're doing a sequel series to the 90s era, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation. We're going to learn about what happened after the Dominion Wars and things like that. I'm excited, but I'm scared because this is what's going to happen. It's what we're going to be fed. And it's about time this era ends. They're doing the new Ghostbusters movie. They learned their lesson. Hopefully this all changes, but I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.